Hey guys, I feel like I want to start another YouTube channel just so I can gripe about my camera woes that I've been having. I'm not going to bore you guys to death with it, except that I got one more chance, and that's when the microphone shows up tomorrow, and we'll see. What I want to talk about in this video is backhand English, fronthand English, I guess parallel English, although that is a little bit of a myth. I was talking to a guy a couple nights ago, and he'd seen some video on YouTube about basically the Squirt test. You guys, a lot of you have probably seen this. If I want to know how much or what my pivot point is for like a Squirt test, I'm sorry, pretty hard for me to even straighten my arm out a little bit. If I get lined up on a shot straight in center ball, and I note my bridge load, and then I pivot to right English or left English or whatever, pivoting off of my bridge, then I should continue to hit the 5 straight in the face because that's where I was aiming. For a lot of cues, especially a lot of the newer cues, carbon fiber stuff, really low squirt stuff, the pivot point of your cue isn't even up here anymore. It's back here a lot of cases. And that's when people will do things front-handed, they call it. And this is kind of what melted the guy's brain when he watched the YouTube, was he was imagining, or the hell it was demonstrated, that get set up straight in and then pivot this way on your grip hand. And he said, nobody's ever done that in history of pool, except in this one video that the guy saw. Yeah, you're absolutely right. People don't do that. They don't get down and then move their bridge hand. What they do is they just automatically kind of come down on the right line because they're pivoting up in the air type of thing. It's a lot like what do they call it? I think the CTE guys, the Pro 1 CTE guys, I think they call it a visual sweep. Or you could use Pro 1 or CTE, and you could get down here and then pivot the center ball and stuff like that. But it's just all done at the same time. This is the thing about front-hand English, backhand English, whatever. You're going to end up the same place. You have to end up the same place. If I want to put this 5 in there with left English, for example, because of Squirt, I have to aim out like, there's my ghost ball, like this ghost ball is lined up straight, put the 5 straight in the pocket. But I can't hit that ghost ball head on with left spin or right spin, because that spin is going to throw the 5 off of this line. And you just kind of know this. You have to allow for squirt. And there's probably some people out there right now, oh, but Dave, my cue doesn't squirt. Yes, it does. It may not squirt as much as some others, but it does squirt. Oh, but Dave, my cue is alien technology from the future. It doesn't squirt. Okay, if you have alien technology from the future, maybe it doesn't squirt. But every other shaft out there does. If it moves the cue ball, it does squirt. Some more than others. But then, because with this cue, which is, I guess I would call this about medium, if I want to put left English on the shot, I have to allow for the fact that the cue ball is going to squirt this way. Which means my ghost ball can't be there. My ghost ball has to be more over here. And then I can do the pivot, or actually the pivot just as I'm getting down. If I was going to put right English on it, it's going to squirt the other way. And beyond the squirt, you have the English-induced throw that's going to happen with the ball. Left English, no throw the ball to right. Left English is going to squirt the cue ball to the right, but then it's also going to throw the cue ball to the right, and everything just gets all weird. The thing about this front-hand English, back-hand English stuff, it's not the end-all, be-all. It's a good starting point. It's a good way to start to try to understand what's going on. If you're really paying attention, then you can notice, hey, this cue ball did indeed squirt to the right. Hey, this 5 ball did indeed get thrown to the right. Again, I'm talking about left English here. You start to notice that stuff. And the good news about front-hand English, backhand English, and all that is after a while you just don't need it anymore. You just don't use it anymore. They're like beginner methods to get used to stuff and figure out what's going on. You're not going to see anybody that's going to get a tape measure and a protractor and a compass and be out here measuring this stuff and get in there bristling proper. And if there's anybody like that, I really hope they enjoy their virginity, because they're going to have it for a long time. Nobody does that. You play long enough, and then you just figure out how to come down on the proper shot, because you end up at the same place. You got to come down on the line, counting for squirt and counting for throw and all that, just straight because you've been playing for a long time. Or you can come down and pivot off the proper pivot point and all that. You're going to end up on exactly the same line. It just, after you've been playing for a while, you don't have to do all that measuring and all that stuff. I mean, you just don't. If you do, work on it some more, I guess. But that would be my advice on that. Just work on it some more. Every now and then, when, like in the forums, there'll be like a discussion about backhand English, or more recently, also fronthand English. The fronthand English is if a cue has very little squirt. So that pivot point, for backhand English might have been back or up here on the bridge, on the shaft. But for a very low squirt cue, still squirts, just not very much, not as much. That pivot point is back here. So sometimes you get on the forums and they'll go, no, backhand English is voodoo, hippie shit. Fronthand English is voodoo, hippie shit. What are you guys smoking? You do a parallel shift. Put English on like our caveman ancestors did, basically. But this is the thing. If I get down here, center ball to cut this 5 in, and then I decide I'm just going to do a parallel shift. It's hard for me to even do a parallel shift. I'm just going to do a parallel shift over for left English, or for right English, what I'm going to do. If you're doing a parallel shift and you're still making the ball, you are also doing some type of a pivot, probably subconscious. A lot of people, I don't think, give themselves enough credit for what they're kind of doing. If I really and truly parallel shifted over without any pivot, parallel shifted over to left English in this case, I'm going to miss the shot. I'm absolutely going to miss the shot. If the shot line is the same, except now all of a sudden it's got left English, it's a parallel shot line, I'm going to miss shot. And an awful lot of these proponents of the parallel shift method, they're still making shots. That just tells me they're not really parallel shifting. They're not really. I'm doing all this little stuff you can't even see. They're not really coming over parallel. They're also changing their shot line. Maybe just a little bit, but they are changing. And a lot of people are just so stubborn. I'm not going to use backhand English. I'm not going to use fronthand English. They're doing it anyway. Even if they're just doing it up here when they go to get lined up, they're still doing it. You still have to be on the proper line to make the ball with English. You do. And the line, the shot line, to make this 5 with English is not the same as the shot line would be with a center ball. or with the other English. The shot line does change. And maybe that's the bad news, but the good news is, after you've been playing for a while, you don't even think about it. It's just there. The ball goes in or the ball doesn't. I would be astonished if I bridge at the actual mathematical pivot point on the southwest. I would be astonished if that was the case. It would be a huge coincidence. It's down to experience for me. Crap, I'm going to be coming up on 41 years in August of experience. I lived that long. It's not about pivoting and all this and that. It's just about playing long enough and knowing what's going to happen. And knowing can be my conscious mind, but usually it's my subconscious mind knowing what's going to happen. And when it works out, it's great. Yeah, if you say that you only use parallel shift for English, then you miss shots. And that's why, because you're not changing that shot line. It has to change. If you put side spin on a ball, that changes your shot line. It just does. And I'm sorry to break that to you, you've never heard it before, but it just does. And if you still are swearing, oh, I only use parallel shift, yet I'm world champion, I think you're just not giving yourself all the credit you should give yourself. You're better than you think you are, because your subconscious is taking care of that changing of the shot line for you, even if you don't recognize it, even if you don't admit it. If the ball goes in and you just put spin on it, that is a different shot line than it would have been without spin or with the other spin. That's kind of all I wanted to say about this. I really hope that my new microphone fixes my problem. It probably won't. But so here's the deal, just for anybody that's still awake. And I've got this being recorded on my new 60 FPS camera, which has crappy audio. Kind of sounds like I'm underwater with a mouthful of marbles or something. So I can't use that microphone. The sound is being recorded on my old camera, the one I used to do all my YouTube stuff with. But it was only 4K 30 FPS, like a caveman camera I've said before. Now I've got to take this video footage and this audio footage and combine them together and hope that the whole entire video ends up being worth it. If it does, great. If it doesn't, 10 minutes of my life wasted, 10 or 15. I haven't looked at it. So now I have to use two remotes. Isn't that annoying? Yes. Thanks, guys.